Hey guys, Kelly from Rookie Hunter. This episode is powered by Dark Energy. Dark Energy makes innovative hunting products for the modern hunter. Use promo code ROOKIE10 at the checkout and save 10%. When you use the promo code, you save and support the show at the same time. Go to darkenergy.com.
Hey guys, Mike here. As you heard in the intro, we are now powered by Dark Energy. Please go and check out their, basically what it is, a charging device for electronics. We've been using it like crazy. We would never recommend something that we didn't believe in. So we had the opportunity to try that device out for, we've had it for probably about a month and a half now, and it's passed every test, and we've got to basically, put it through the ringer, and we've decided that this is something that we want to promote. So please go, as Kelly said, to darkenergy.com and pick one of those up, and let us know if you got one and what you think of it. We certainly like it, so check it out. This episode is a little bit less about hunting. It's about my experience on the Juan De Fuca Trail, which I did last week. I just got back from the trip. It was a 5-day hiking trip, basically just living out of a backpack for that period of time. Even though it's not so much hunting related, we are out of hunting season, but some great tips for surviving in the backcountry and what you need, and some of the preparations you can do to have a comfortable trip. So I had a lot of fun chatting about this. You'll hear more details about our next episode as well, which we're excited about, and we'll be recording that tomorrow. So sit back, relax, crack a cold beer, and enjoy episode 12 of The Rookie Hunter. No spirit bears.
I think they're on the Sunshine Coast, right?
Yeah, what's the name? They're in a certain...
I think it's a pretty big area, but they're all the islands, like they're split up in the Sunshine Coast area.
Right.
Or is it limited to one spot?
There is one spot, but I can't remember what it's called. I'm going blank on it. Oh, well. Well, this is episode 12, Kel. How's it going?
Pretty good, you?
Can't complain, man. Our last episode was with Kareem Shaya from Outpost. It seems like people were digging that one. That was a fun combo. We're going to do another podcast tomorrow, actually, and we've got a guest coming in. And I think we've sort of been alluding to this episode from the very beginning, from number one. We've been talking about getting this guy in. So you've met him before. Just briefly let me know who, Jesse.
Yeah, so Jesse is kind of involved with the BC Wildlife Federation. So he's, from a BC perspective anyways, he's in touch with all the current issues, and you've probably heard him on the radio. He's got a bunch of articles out, multiple news avenues, so I'm looking forward to talking to him.
Yeah.
Actually, our previous guest, Corey, I think it's episode 4, they're kind of related in a way. So
yeah, through his sister. So it's his brother-in-law.
Yeah, so it's good. I'm looking forward to talking to him, and I'm sure everybody will take a little bit from what he has to say.
Yeah, definitely. So I think tomorrow it's going to probably be a pretty long conversation. So we sort of just wanted to get some housekeeping out of the way, because I've been gone on the Juan De Fuca Trail, which is a multi-day adventure on the west coast of Vancouver Island. So I thought we could talk about that and get some of these things out of the way before we get Jesse in here. But let's do our regular stuff that we want to move out of the way first. So Cal, what's on tap?
4 Winds Juxtapose.
What a surprise. We're just like addicted to the shit. We went from like we would buy one bomber each time we would record a podcast, but now we each have our own. It's too good to share.
Yeah, and this one's really good. It's the Wild IPA.
I don't think we've had this one in here yet, have we? No.
I don't even think I've tried this one, and
it's delicious.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This one actually, I went to a liquor store and the woman that was working there said that this one can be hard to get, which is cool. So we got lucky. The our usual is the La Maison, which was, they didn't have it today. They had the Nectarus, which we've had on previous, and
La Maison is still my favorite.
Yeah.
And I saw something on their Instagram that said they were rolling it into continuous production because the demand's so high. So
probably because of us.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's because of our
I'm pretty sure
influence.
We should talk.
Yeah.
Four Winds, give us a call. Actually, you know what? Our Ashley really likes it too, and she's not like a huge beer drinker. And I think part of the thing that I really like, and I think a lot of people, the reason why they're drawn to this beer is because the artwork and the label is like something about it. It's just fucking, all of them are really nice. I don't know. When you see this on the shelf next to all the other ones, you're sort of drawn to their labels. But anyways, our plan was to go and visit the brewery in, where are they, in Delta or something like that?
Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah. So it would have been just a quick hop off of the ferry when we came back, but it just didn't work out. But they actually have a little restaurant in there and stuff like that. So it would have been cool to drop in there, but I'll be in Vancouver again next week. So maybe I'll stop in and say hi and let them know that we're responsible for the big surge of La Maison purchases.
Yeah, it's just, like you said, everything's well done.
Yeah.
And I noticed that a lot of their beer has a citrusy kind of tinge right at the end, which is awesome. And I think I drank another one of their beer this weekend, and it had like New Zealand hops, and like they just have a cool, the ingredients, they're always trying to, it seems like they're trying to be original.
Yeah. And I think some of it is like limited runs too, like, you know, it's only available while it's there, and then they go to something else. So anyways, there's another plug for Four Winds, even though we don't benefit from it, but it's good shit. So if you can find it, go get it. So we've had a few emails while we've been away, and my thumb's wet, so my fingerprint's not working on my phone here. One sec.
Well, we had one email from I can't remember who, but they were wondering ammo wise,
right?
Like, what kind of ammo do you go lead, copper, grain, all that kind of stuff. So I guess we're gonna do, not this podcast coming up, that'll be Jesse, but the one afterwards we'll do a field dressing ammo special.
I found the email. So the one guy had wrote about ammo, which is more so Kelly's area of expertise, but it'll be fun to talk about anyways. I don't know how long we'll chat about it for, but we got another email from a guy named Tyler Schrader, and he's from southern Wisconsin, and he's wondering about after the hunt. He wants us to go in detail on field dressing and butchering, which we've touched on briefly, but we've never really gone into like full detail. Might be kind of hard to do just talking about it, but we'll do our best to kind of go through some of the things that we learn. We're not experts, but we'll sort of prepare this episode so that it is helpful to guys to check out, and so that'll be kind of a fun one. And then we had a few things on the message board, but we also got a recommendation for a backpack. And you were familiar with the pack, but I'm not. Which one was it?
I think it was Mystery Ranch, just in general. I don't think he mentioned which pack he has, but local supplier in town is now a distributor for Mystery Ranch. So I don't have any experience using them. I would love to use them, but they're not exactly the cheapest item.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they are amazing. I looked at them in the store a few times, and it just looks, they're amazing packs for sure. Cool. So, noted. It was from Stephen Peterman, and I think that was up on the message board. He left that for us there. Right. I think depending, like, as we progress and get more serious about backpacking and going out there further and further and longer, I would start looking into those packs at that point. Right. Because you do not want a pack that's going to fail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with 100 pounds in it.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely. So I've been humming and hawing on backpacks for a long time, so appreciate the pack suggestion. But the hardest part for me in choosing a backpack was like, I do so many things outdoors, and I have goals to do more multi-day trips that aren't necessarily always going to be hunting related. And I guess the thing that separates, good backpack from, just backpacking and hunting, I think, is the ability to pack meat, right?
mm-hmm.
So far, we haven't really packed any meat. The deer that we got, we were fortunate we didn't have to butcher it in the field. So anyways, my wife needed a pack as well, and the plan was just to get her one, and I would sort of tough it out and use this piece of shit that I had for it was fine backpack. But anyways, it ended up that Fjallraven, which is a company I absolutely love, like everything they make, and I've got one of their jackets. You've got a pair of their pants and a pair of shorts, I think, too.
Yeah, awesome gear.
I don't know what it is about the brand that just like I'm just sucked into it, like the materials they use, the colors they use, the fox on their label, and then I don't think
the whole wax thing.
Yeah,
where you can wax your certain areas of the pants, and then you can wash it out because you lose breathability. But waterproofness increases, and then come summer or whatever, you can wash it out, and it's pretty cool.
And it's cool. So what happened was Fjallraven had a Canada Day sale, and everything was 25% off. So I had looked at their packs before and like loved them and thought, those would be cool, but they're a bit expensive. So anyways, the 25% off was sort of enough, and then Ashley and I both ended up buying a pack.
Nice.
And what we got was the Abisco. So it comes in all different sizes from 55 up to 75 liters is how they measure them. And so we called and ordered. For me, I didn't really care too much about color. I just wanted something like earth tones. So they had an olive green, which was perfect. And then Ashley really liked, they had this blue one that's fucking really cool, but that would not be good for hunting.
So they say.
So apparently. So anyways, when we got to the thing, so she wanted a 55 and I wanted the 75. And when we got to the store, they had set aside 2 65s, which was fine, but she wanted like the blue pack, and they didn't actually have that in a 55. They ended up selling it. And then they still had the 75 in the green for me, so it worked out really well. So we got the packs on sale, and they only charged me for the 65 anyway, so we ended up saving even more.
She ended up with 65 too?
She ended up with a 65, I ended up with a 75.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she went from the 55 to the 65. She wasn't too stoked on it originally, but so what we had to do was we ordered them on the phone from they have a store in Vancouver. And they didn't even actually have the ones we wanted online. I guess they had sold out, like they're low on stock on everything, which is cool. But anyway, so what we had to do was pack up all the gear into bins before we left for this trip to do the Juan De Fuca Trail, and then transfer it all into the packs. So once we got to the island, we camped the first night, sort of just to get ourselves settled, and then transitioned everything into the backpacks. And thank fuck that we got the 65 for, because both of our packs were just loaded with this stuff. So it was like one of those situations that was kind of a blessing in disguise that she ended up with a bigger pack. And
I think the bigger, I don't know, if I was to go, say, buy a Mystery Ranch or an Exo Mountain Gear or something like that, they've kind of got the 3500 and the 5500. But I kind of keep hearing that, I mean, if you don't have money to buy 2 packs, go with the 55 and you can compress it down. If you don't have anything in it, it's not like it's that much more weight, or you can compress them and all that stuff. Yeah.
So I don't know what, I think you asked me what the conversion from liters to
cubic inch
was, but 75 liters is a big fucking pack.
I think he said it was up around 4,500
somewhere
cubic inch or something, which is a good size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I guess I can sort of do a bit of a review on the pack. So it's one of those things is like, I almost compare it to like footwear, and it's not like you want to like buy a brand new pair of boots and hit the trail. It's kind of a stupid thing to do, but like the situation we were in and like with the sale and everything like that, we didn't really have any other choice but to like grab these packs on the way to doing the Juan De Fuca Trail, and then like set them up before we're kind of setting them up in camp, making sure they looked okay and they felt good. And then like we got like a half a kilometer in the trail and we stopped again to kind of fuck around with them. Excuse me. But it didn't take long at all because to sort of get them where we needed them to be. And it's funny how with backpacks, like the finest adjustments, be it like on your shoulder straps or like your hip belt or whatever, makes all the difference with how your load is being handled. So for me, what happened was my shoulder straps were too high up and my shoulders were taking all of the weight instead of like the, I don't know what the straps are called, but basically they sort of help push the weight more onto your chest a little bit rather than like if your shoulder straps are coming right around onto your like your clavicle, I guess it would be, then it's all just hitting you right there. But if you lower your straps and get your pack up a little bit higher, those straps that come down on top of the shoulder strap that you can adjust, those will sort of help take some more of the weight. And once you get those in the right position, you can feel the pack sort of like being fully supported on your hips.
On your hips, yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like the pack, once you get it in the right spot, is like floating on you a little bit. So I had watched a video on setting up these packs before we got out there and knew what to look for. So we got Ashley set up pretty quickly. Like I said, we stopped like a half a kilometer in the trail and I fucked around with it a little bit and like she was good for the rest of the trip. But I couldn't really see like how it was sitting on my back. It's almost like a visual thing. You need to kind of have a look. And it wasn't until like the second day till I finally I kept raising my straps higher up on the pack, my shoulder straps. And then it turned out that I needed to be lowering them down quite a bit to get that weight off my shoulders. So the first couple of days I'm like, I don't know, man, this isn't feeling that good. And I had a lot of weight in there. But once I hit that sweet spot, it was like night and day. So
I kind of had that experience in our park trip a while back when we did that big hike. And there's the little straps on the top there. And as soon as you like boom, release those two, and then all the weight just sinks right onto your hips. And then it was like, oh man.
Those are precisely the ones that I was talking about. So you want those like above your shoulders basically, so that it's almost like a triangle from the top of your shoulder where the straps go up to your pack and then where the pack comes down. So down. And then your actual shoulder straps, not those ones, but like it's fucking hard to explain. But anyways, those are just sort of supporting the pack a little bit, but all the weight is being more so from your hips and it's floating there.
It's kind of transplanting that weight to the frame and then to your hips.
Exactly.
And if you have them tight, it's almost pulling it right onto your shoulder.
Yeah, and it's not fun.
And your neck.
It's fucking horrible, yeah. So I knew there wasn't really anything wrong with the pack and it was just something that I needed to adjust. But once I found the sweet spot, and then one of the things I was reminded is like previous conversations that we had about like, just fucking stop for a minute. If something doesn't feel right, you always feel like, oh, we got to keep going. We got to like get to camp by this time or whatever it is. Just fucking stop and get it out of the way because you're just fighting it the whole time. You know what I mean? And it's uncomfortable. And then once you get it, it's great.
Yeah, it's funny how, like we mentioned, we got hit with a bunch of rain that one day, and to put my rain pants on, I would have had to take my boots off, and I'm like, whatever. Like, I'll just keep going. I don't want to take the 15 minutes and go through all that. Yeah. But that 15 minutes could have saved me having wet pants the whole next morning.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So you kind of,
It's like a mental battle. You just want to get to where you're going, but like, just do whatever you need to do to get comfortable because it sucks otherwise.
Well, it sounds like the pack worked out.
Yeah. So I guess the conclusion of my review and a couple of things that I really liked about it was like on the hip belt, it's all padded and it's super comfortable. It also has stash pockets on either side that are sort of elastic, so you can keep snacks and shit in there. And I had a knife in there that was handy to get to. So whatever you need to get to quick, it was great. I would just have dried banana chips that I had done in there, and I was just throwing those back while we were walking. I had granola bars on the other side. So it was sweet. And surprisingly, not a lot of packs have that. That's like a bonus feature for a lot of these guys. Like when you get to their higher end pack, it's like it has that, which seems like it should be something that's just there. It also had a front compartment. So like any stuff that I needed to get to really quickly, like I put, it was on the front of the pack. It just zips open really quickly. So I had like first aid kit, some extra food, like all that kind of, like anything I might want to just drop my pack, and like we had our lunch stuff in there and stuff too, so that you didn't have to go into the pack. But the other thing that's really nice about this one in particular is a lot of packs, you sort of just fill them from the top compartment only. So you're like, you pack in all the things you don't necessarily need to get to during your day trip, whatever. So you would probably put like your sleeping bag and the tent and everything at the bottom, because you're not going to need to get to that shit until later, until you reach your destination. But the nice thing about this pack is like on the back of it, both sides zip down, so you can actually open it up. So if you do need something that's in the middle, you don't have to like go from the top and fucking like root around and try and find something in there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you're kind of flipping everything that's inside the pack upside down, and it's just a mess.
Well, yeah, you spend time organizing the thing the way you want it. So yeah, you can do it both ways. If you want to just open the drawstring at the top, and there's two of them on there, then you can, and sort of just grab whatever you need off the top. But if there's something in the middle, you just lay the pack down on the ground, zip down both sides, crack it open real easy, and then grab what you need, zip it up, and continue on.
Cool.
So that was a pretty sweet feature. And then I guess the last thing that I thought was, should be standard on a pack was a rain cover. But all these like Osprey packs and stuff that I was looking at, you had to buy a fucking rain cover. So you're spending like $200-300 on a pack, and it doesn't even come with a rain cover. Like this just had it already tucked in there.
Oh, it had it.
Yeah.
It's connected, and you kind of roll it out.
It's actually just in a little, the rain cover just packs into like a little square, like it's all one unit, so you just pull it out of there, and then it packs back into the same, it's all one piece basically. So it just has like a little cutout, and you tuck it in there, and you just throw it in the top of your pack. It's really easy to get to.
Sweet.
So anyways, it was sort of like not necessarily gamble, because we did a lot of research before. We didn't just be like, oh, it's on sale, let's buy it. We looked into it, and the sale went for a few days too. And they had, like, if it didn't work out, you can return them too. But we both loved the pack. It was awesome.
Well, that's probably one of the best ways to test the pack, is what you did, right?
Yeah.
I got a couple questions about it.
Yeah.
Do you know what the frame is? Like, is it a super stiff frame in the back, or like?
You know what? I don't know, but they're sort of like. I'll find out for the next one or the two from now, what they use in their frame technology. But they're like sort of credited as being the first guys to introduce like a proper lightweight pack frame.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. I'll look that up, because it was sort of interesting. Because Fjallraven's been around for a long time apparently, and it was amazing. Like we would run into people, and they'd never seen. A lot of people have not heard of Fjallraven, and I sort of stumbled across them too. But fuck, they've got great stuff, and I think they need to be more into the hunting market. Like I think they would do well. Their stuff's fucking awesome. They don't have any camo stuff, but like as people probably have discovered by this point, I'm not really into camo anyways, because I can wear that stuff, anywhere, right? It's not specific. And I understand like some of the good points we had from our camo debate was like, your camo stuff is for hunting only. That makes sense. But I just don't have. It's so fucking expensive if you have to buy all these, this is my hunting pack, this is my backpacking pack, these are my hunting clothes, these are my fucking, what I mean? It gets a bit
and I think
costly.
We touched on the fact that just because you don't have camo or you don't have separate stuff, it doesn't mean you're not going to get an animal. It just means that you have to think a little more about other stuff, right? Like maybe there's a few more cents on it. Maybe if you don't have camo, you got to be a little more conscious of whether you're moving or not in a certain situation or whatever. But I agree with you. I don't think that I think that's all stuff that's extra and above what you actually need.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that because you don't have it, you're not going to be a good hunter or whatever. Yeah. Like, no, I don't know many people that are going to go around buying two $500, $600 packs.
No.
For two different situations.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then, like, you know, over time, you'll start to collect these things, but those packs are a big investment. Mm-hmm. And that's on top of everything else you already need too, right? So
I was going to ask you about the waterproofness of it, but you kind of answered that with the included dry bag.
Yeah. So we got really lucky. I actually haven't really explained that. I want to go back a little bit to sort of like some of the preparations for food and stuff like that, because this will be useful information for guys who are going out and doing multi-day trips. But so what my wife and I did, and Oscar, my dog, was the Juan De Fuca Trail, which is it's 47 kilometers in total, which doesn't sound like a lot. When I first looked at it, you know, I was thinking about our trip in the park where one day we did over 20, I think it was like 23 kilometers. So I'm like, what the fuck? We can do this trail in 2 days. But once you get on the trail, you realize, you know, the definition of a kilometer can vary quite a bit, from a kilometer on a paved road to a kilometer through mud and across creeks and up and down hills and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So anyways, we'll come back to like the whole trail experience, but we did hit some rain one day. It's not so bad when you're it's like rainforesty type stuff. So the rain isn't bad, but once you get onto the beach, that's when it hits you. And we had only one day where it was like, oh fuck, we need to get our rain covers on so we don't get everything wet. But even before we put the rain covers on, we dropped the packs, and they were actually repelling water quite well. So again, it's one of those things, just stop and throw the thing on. But I think, you know, as long as it wasn't like a constant like heavy downpour, you'd be fine.
Right.
But when you're out there for us, it was 5 days, you don't want to fuck around and get your sleeping bag wet or your clothing or whatever. So
you don't want to take that risk.
And one thing I need to look at too is, because like you mentioned, the waxing options for their stuff, I think you might be able to do that with a pack too, so maybe I should look at that too.
I wouldn't be surprised. It seems most of their material has that I don't know what you call it.
When you go to the actual store too, they actually have waxing stations, so you can wax your shit right there. But we were in such a rush to kind of like get going. It was kind of disappointing they didn't really help us set up the packs and stuff like that. They seemed sort of disinterested. That was my only negative experience, really, was like the couple that was there that just didn't seem to give a fuck. But that's nothing to do with Fjallraven, I don't think. But the store's cool. But anyways, if we want to get into the whole trip and how it all came together, we can do that now.
For sure.
Because so it was just a multi-day backpacking trip. It's not hunting related at all, but a lot of guys, and including Kelly and I, were going to be going out and doing multi-day hunting trips. And we did one last year, but we sort of had the convenience of having a camp that we could get to by vehicle and not having to worry about packing everything in. But I think it's going to be different when we go this year. We've got 2 different trips planned, and I think it's going to be a bit more rugged and kind of packing what you need. So my wife and I did this trip together, and women are generally more organized and think ahead a little bit more. So she was like really involved with getting all our meals prepared and stuff like that. So we've got a food dehydrator, and the way it's set up is like there's multiple trays. I think we've got like 5 or 6 trays on this thing, so you can have variation of things going at once, or you can just do one thing, and you can have 2 trays, you can have all 6 or whatever. So some of the things we did was just like the obvious. We did dried fruit, and I think I did like I sliced 8 bananas and dried all those out, so those were just good snacks throughout the day to have. And then we also did we made homemade chili, spread those out on the racks, dried all that out. And it's funny, once it's dried out, it's just like this crusty, fucking disgusting looking pile of, like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's not really appetizing anymore. So you just break it all up, and then we put it into Ziploc bags and sort of like not really vacuum sealed it, but just had a straw and sucked all the air out of it and packed it down as much as we could, and then did that. So we had chili was one of them. We also did like a chicken curry one night. So we had curry sauce that I think we just bought that actually, dried that out on the rack. It almost dried to like this like fruit leather sort of state, but I took it off and I put it into a blender and busted it all up and then put it back on the rack and dried it out even more. It actually took quite a while to do it. But once it was done, it was like a sort of a finer powder. And again, it packed up into a small little Ziploc bag and then packed that away. And we also did like a fettuccine. We did a salmon fettuccine Alfredo kind of thing. And so what we did for that is we cooked all the linguine ahead of time, or the fettuccine, and then dehydrated it. So it's kind of weird. You take a dried pasta, you cook it, and then dehydrate it again, but it like cooks super fast when you're out there. And I've got that MSR, those the Quick 2 system, the lightweight pasta that we brought out there, and that thing, the water boils super quick. So to do all the pastas, and another night we did macaroni, same idea, and kind of did all those meals. And so it was all like,
so you cooked the meat, like the chicken and the salmon?
No, so you can, but we were reading about it, and it's something you probably want to try before you go out there. So a lot of people said they dehydrated beef and stuff like that, and when they got out there, it was really hard to rehydrate it, and it was like chewing on fucking gravel or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So what we did was actually got cans. Sounds kind of gross, and I'm not usually into this stuff, but we ended up finding like really good canned salmon. It's fucking fantastic. And we had chicken also that was canned, and then turkey for another one of our meals. I can't remember what that one was for.
Right. And you could technically can your own fish.
Yeah, so if we had our own stuff, yeah. And it's just, if you can get it into, it's all about like minimizing the amount of weight that you have. So all of our meals turned out really well. We had dried mangoes, and then for breakfast we just had oatmeal. I think we just had like a bit of cinnamon in there, and then dried fruit that would rehydrate as you boiled it. So it was fucking really good.
Sweet.
And then just pepperoni and all that kind of stuff too for snacks throughout the day, and homemade granola bars. So those sustained us for the 5 days out there. And we actually like packed like the perfect amount of food. So like when we came out of the trail, I was chewing on my last piece of pepperoni, so it was like perfect. Nice. And what Ashley did was she made the meals for each day, and like it sort of rationed everything out and labeled each bag. So it was like Monday's breakfast, like snack, and the dinner, so that you weren't just like gorging on shit and be like, oh fuck, we ate all our food on the second day.
Did you end up buying a saltwater license?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
And I'm kind of glad there was one spot where I could have fished on the last day. I think I could have just went off and like jigged for cod off the shore or something like that. But my pack was pretty heavy. I could have eliminated some things, and it just would have been like one more thing. It's interesting, man. When you lay everything out, you're like, oh, everything's pretty lightweight. But you really have to sort of decide, like, is this essential or not? Is this like a luxury item that you want to have? Like, I brought my binoculars, but I still don't have a proper harness for them. So they were just in my pack the whole time, and my hope was to see like marine life. I was hoping to see whales because it's pretty common on there. I didn't see any fucking whales, so I had like that's quite a bit of weight to be packing around the whole time. Yeah, a
pound or two.
Yeah, for sure, and it all adds up, man.
Maybe a pound.
Yeah. So then a fishing rod and all that stuff would have been even more, and I might have used it once. So I don't know, but so all that sort of food prep stuff was really good, because one of the cool things about doing this multi-day trip is almost like just to see if you and I can do it when we go out hunting too. So it's like doing this in sort of better conditions, because it's summertime right now. So if it works now and you can be comfortable even if things didn't really work out, that like, okay, with this backpack I can fit everything I need in there and be really comfortable and well fed for 5 days, even more if you spread things out a bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was all the prep stuff, and the trail was really nice. Anyone who's interested in doing that, the cool thing is like we had a real variation of people that were on the trail. So whoever starts on the same day and is going the same direction as you see them in the morning as everyone's getting ready. Some people like to leave a little bit earlier. Some people leave a bit late. But you kind of keep seeing everybody, and then you'll pass certain people each day, but you'll meet up at the next camp. So there's basically 4 camps you're trying to get to, and you have to time it with the tides and stuff like that, because you can actually get cut off from the beach. Most of the camps were actually right on the beach. So yeah, you're seeing everybody every single day. But so the people we were kind of seeing all the time was there was one guy in his late 50s. His name was Phil. We were calling him Uncle Phil. Super nice guy.
Nice.
He was doing it solo, which was pretty cool, and he was sort of just taking his time. I think he alluded to like having some sort of like pain issues anyway, so he was like getting up really early every day, and he's like, I just got to take it one step at a time. And I think it was like a good challenge for him to do this, because he was talking about having friends who were just like unable to do this shit. So he's like, I got to get out. I don't care if it takes me all day to do this leg of the trail, but I want to accomplish this. So that was really cool. We had there was a family that had 3 kids out there doing it. Like the nicest family. Like, you sort of realize like if you have kids, how important it is to do shit like that with them.
Oh, for sure.
And the kids were having they were not complaining at all. They were like super nice and having a blast the whole time.
They could probably do that trail 5 times in the
they
same
were,
amount of
like
time.
we were having trouble keeping up with them.
Yeah.
They were sort of like, as far as stamina, like keeping up with the family was hard, because the parents were super fit. They'd done all kinds of stuff apparently. So that was really cool to see. And then there was another couple, hopefully they don't hear this, but they like kind of had the vibe of like, you know, being more at home hanging out at Burger King than on a backcountry trail, like super overweight and shit like that. But again, they
dehydrated whoppers.
Yeah, totally. They were super nice, and they knew that they were out of shape and everything. So like, we would sort of beat them by 2 hours every day. They didn't care. They're like, yeah, whatever it takes us to get there. And
yeah, hey, they're out there.
And they did the whole fucking trail. And, you know, they were like complaining about being really sore on the second day. And the second day was actually the hardest. So like, oh my God, you guys are going to fucking die out here. But yeah, that day I think they got in 3 hours after us, but they made it. So the really cool thing about doing these trails, it's not about your fitness level. It's just about, it becomes a mental thing at a certain point, right? You can push yourself to get there and do it at your own pace. So what are you laughing at?
I was just thinking about the whoppers.
Whoppers with legs.
I was just thinking, man, if you dehydrated just anything, like the humidity down there. What's the humidity down there?
Oh, it was pretty gross, actually.
So wouldn't that wouldn't affect your dehydrated food at all?
I don't think so, because we had it all sealed up pretty good in Ziploc bags. But
just wouldn't want to see your pack expanding on the first day.
So I do recommend it to anybody who is interested in doing it. And like, each camp like was on the beach basically, with the exception of the last one. But Ashley and I found the one and only spot. We're lucky because we got there. We were one of the first ones to arrive at the last campsite. And we found this sweet site that only fit one tent. And it was on this cliff that overlooked this really cool bay. And so every night it was like camping in a really cool spot. And during the day, you kind of snake in and out from the coast. So you're like going up and down these different ravines. So it's like up and down constantly. So you go up to the top of this thing. And usually with hiking, it's like the goal is to get to the top of something. But this trail was just up and down the whole time, because there's creeks. There's tons and tons of creeks. That's the one nice thing, is you're never going to run out of water on the West Coast, because there's just so much coming through there. But that was one of the main challenges. And then, of course, in like a rainforest, I don't know if it's actually a rainforest. I guess it would be. It's like all old growth. But tons of mud, wet logs, wet roots. Like, I almost killed myself a few times just slipping on stuff. Uncle Phil, he told us that he slipped on a root and fell down a bank. He said he did like 7 somersaults down this bank and had to claw his way back up onto the trail. So it's pretty sketchy. But anyways, all in all, it was really great. And then when you get to the end, it's super gratifying. And where you end up is you go from a place called Jordan River to Port Renfrew. And then you finish the trail and you actually have to walk another 2 kilometers to get out to where we had parked the vehicle. But where you end up is this place called the Port Renfrew Hotel, which this is really old wooden. It's like a heritage building. I don't know what it was originally used for, but it's right on the pier and stuff like that. And they have a bar. So we ordered 2 pints of Fat Tug and a halibut burger. And it was like the best fucking way to end it. And the sun was out, and it was like the best day ever. So,
do you park at the end or at the beginning?
So we, the way it's set up, there's lots of people who say be careful with parking, because there's people who operate there as thieves. They go in and break into all these cars because they know that people are leaving their cars because there's the West Coast Trail that you can do from the same location, and also the Juan De Fuca Trail. So it's just like a gold mine for these guys to go in and break in. I'm not going to say where it was because I don't want people to hear this and go and bug this guy. But we stopped at this one place, and I ran into the business owner, and he had this big lot behind his business. And like, hey, we're, thinking about parking this one area. I'm just wondering if we could pay you to park here because this looks like a safer area. And he's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I know lots of guys are charging like $10 a night or whatever to park there. So you just leave your car here for free, which was really nice, cool of the guy. So we left it in Port Renfrew, which was our destination in the end. So our car was actually there when we got there. But what they have is a shuttle to take people from the West Coast Trail and the Juan De Fuca Trail to wherever their vehicles are left, or you can actually take it all the way back to Victoria if that's where you started from. So the night before we started on the trail, Ashley and I set up this place. It was called China Beach. That's where we were starting. There's a campground. And I left her there with all the equipment. She set up the tent and stuff while I was gone, and I drove up to Port Renfrew, and they have that shuttle. And so I parked the vehicle, hopped on the shuttle, and then it brought me back to the campsite.
Nice.
It's like $35 or whatever. And the neat thing is, like, on the shuttle, I think I was the only one that hadn't started on a trail yet. Everybody was just getting off, so they're all like sharing their stories about being on the trail, and like those people all had really shitty weather. So some of them were like prepared for it, and they're really good about, like, you expect bad weather on the West Coast. And this couple from Ontario was like, they just fucking hated it. They did the same trail as I did, and
just thankful to be out.
Yeah, they didn't like it at all. So it is what you make it, right? And for Ashley and I, we sort of said, like, we're gonna expect horrible wet weather the whole time, and anything that's better than that is gonna be a bonus, right? And we got lucky. The weather was fantastic, so we lucked out big time.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyways, that's the Juan De Fuca Trail. Look it up and check it out. And I've been posting some of the photos from the trip on there. You get quite a variation of surroundings from, like, I put up one that we were just surrounded by arrowleaf or sword ferns, I think they're called.
Yep.
And then you're on the beach, and then you're in like old growth cedar forest. And it's fucking, there's Sitka, is it pine? I don't know.
Nice.
Really big, huge trees.
I think I mentioned to you before, I've never even been to the island, which is...
Seriously?
I've never even been there.
I didn't know that, actually.
I mean, I've been to Vancouver. I don't even know how many times. Like, at least a few times a year, but even more so now. It seems like once a month, but just have never actually made it out to the island. We're actually thinking about stopping in there in August because I've got some time off.
Nice.
We're going down for that Sturgill Simpson concert in Vancouver, so we might whip across and at least have a look.
Victoria is fucking cool. That's where it was sort of like the reward after we finished the trail. We went and spent 2 days in Victoria. I love that city, man.
Nice.
Yeah. Where are you guys thinking of going?
Victoria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think that the whole Tofino, all that kind of stuff would be a longer term trip, but we've also been talking about the offshore fishing and all that kind of stuff. My dad's actually leaving August 22nd to spend a week out with what is it, Murphy Sport Fishing or something that. So he's gonna be bringing back a bunch of fish, I'm sure, but we're gonna have to do that one day.
Cool. Yeah, we definitely need to.
Yeah.
What was a Rugged Point?
Rugged Point's one. Murphy's is another one. I think there's a few. I like to do a little more research into that, as far as, like, there's certain ones like Rugged where you go there's accommodation, there's meals, there's guided fishing, there's everything. Yeah. But I wonder if we have to take it that far, if we could save some cash by kind of going with more of a...
You know what? There was actually a couple they're clients of mine, and they were in here, and they've got I think it was the guy's sister-in-law owns a place on Vancouver Island. I can't remember exactly where they were, but she takes people out fishing. It's not a business or anything like that, but like, so if anyone's listening and you live on the west coast of BC or Vancouver Island, and we'll pay you if it saves us some money to take us fucking fishing, and we'll find our own accommodations and that, because I think I might have mentioned before that I went out with a guy too before, and he was just a guy that I was working with and had his own boat and did a ton of fishing. So it didn't really cost me anything, and just the cost of gas and shit like that. And we went out and fished all day, and I caught a really nice salmon. We set crab traps in the morning. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, as long as they're experienced. I don't want to get
show up and they got a little
shanked by a gaff or something.
Yeah.
Because I think it's pretty dangerous too. Like, you start getting out into the swells, and you can't have, I don't think you want a thing in each hand, because if something tilts over and you're flying across the boat, you've got a gaff in one hand and a net in the other hand, and you have nothing to grab onto. And
the ocean's such a fascinating thing, and I spent quite a bit of time in Hawaii, and I've like been around the ocean enough, but I still don't really fully understand how it works. Like, it was kind of cool. I had to have a tide chart with me for this trip, just so I knew, like, we had to be to camp by a certain time or we'd be cut off.
Drown.
Yeah. And then, there's all these rogue waves that can come in and knock you off there. And it's such a powerful, crazy thing, the ocean, man. And like, you look at some of the tide currents and stuff like that. Like, when I was coming back on the ferry, we were coming between these two islands, and just like the strong current that was rushing through them was fucking crazy. You sort of, for some reason, I always pictured the ocean as being like just a bigger lake, you know what I mean? But there's so much more going on with it, moving back and forth with the tides and the currents, and it's almost like more like a river, really, when you think about the currents and the strength and the power. That's crazy. But yeah, I don't know much about it. Gotta respect that shit, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that was the trail, and yeah, if anyone's got questions about anything, you can always send us an email to the rookiehunterpodcast@gmail.com. I gladly, recommend things that we brought with us. I didn't even go over all the gear I brought with us, but it's sort of your essential stuff, and there's things I probably shouldn't have brought, and there's nothing I didn't bring though, which was cool. So
sweet.
There's nothing like, oh fuck, I should have brought that, except for a fishing rod. Would have been cool. Should have eliminated the binoculars and brought a fucking fishing rod instead.
Yeah, true.
But
did you mention the animals? Did you see any animals?
We, what's interesting? I think they're just black-tailed deer. I saw not on the trail, but on the island. Because I really like the island, and for some reason I've sort of drawn to living there at some point. But the one thing that keeps coming up is like, can I hunt here? If I can't hunt here, I don't want to fucking live here.
Yeah.
But they've got their black-tailed deer there that are quite a bit smaller. So I saw a bunch of those, and one of them was quite big, actually. So like, that'd be a tasty little deer.
Yeah, so they're kind of like mule deer, right? But
yeah,
because I think we mentioned that with Kareem in the last podcast.
So we should have looked this up, but he was saying Sitka
deer, which is different than Sitka.
Sitka, yeah. So there's like a type of tree that is a Sitka. And I don't know, I was always kind of under the impression that those were Sitka blacktail deer on the island.
Yeah, and they are similar to a mule deer, but smaller, right?
Smaller, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that, and we saw a bear scat on the trail, and they warn you that there's quite a bit of bear in there. And actually, there was a fish, right? So we saw bear shit, 2 piles of it actually, and it was just full of berries. Like there's blackberries that are in bloom right now, huckleberries. There's a whole bunch of shit that we saw. So it was like dark purple. You knew it was all berries, because you hear about coastal bears being gross because they eat a lot of fish. But we also found a fish right in the middle of the trail without a head on it. So I don't know where that came from. Do bears bite the heads off them?
I don't know.
You think he would eat the whole
Seems like a
fucking
waste.
thing? Yeah. It also could have been an eagle that just dropped it or something too.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Or
But,
a person that it didn't look cleaned or anything. It was just
No, it was like totally an animal bit. Of course, Oscar found it and came running back with a fish in his mouth.
Are you sure he didn't just bite it off?
No.
Oh.
We would have saw it for sure.
Hmm.
So we saw that, and then there was otters. There was I must have been a harbor seal. It was a big motherfucker just cruising around out in the bay where we were camped out. And I've got this obsession with, like, there's certain animals I want to see, and an orca is one of them. So that's the reason why I brought the binoculars, because I knew there was a good chance to see them. So I think it was on day 3, we had this really cool campsite that was right on the water. And I was just sort of dressed. I made coffee and was just sitting out, like, having a warm drink on the beach with my binoculars and just watching. And Uncle Phil was out there, that guy I keep talking about. Anyways, I think it was about 9:15, and I just gave up. I was tired and was just going to go and relax in the tent with Ashley. But I guess Uncle Phil told me the next day, he's like, oh yeah, like 15 minutes after you guys went into your tent, some whales came by. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, why don't you throw a rock at my tent or something? Jeez. So I don't know what kind of whales they were, but
so what you're saying is you pushed Uncle Phil off that ledge.
Yeah,
he tumbled,
kicked his ass down there. Yeah. So I missed out on the whales, but when we were coming back on the ferry from Victoria to Tsawwassen Bay, there was a fin. It was fucking weird, actually, because it almost looks like how you would think a shark would travel. Like, the fin was just like cruising along the top, and it was black. And it was just one, and it wasn't very big, and then it just went down. So it never actually showed itself. There's porpoises that are out there too, but I think they're kind of like a white, pinky. They're kind of gross looking. I've seen those before. And some, I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
Let's call it an orca.
I've seen killer whales at, I've seen Shamu.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And like that whole, too. I mean, I get the whole controversy around that,
yeah.
But
they shouldn't be in there.
No, but they are amazing animals. Definitely. So
it's the things that I wanted to do was see dolphins in the wild, and I did that in Hawaii. There, I swam with a pod of like 18 wild dolphins. I want to see an orca. Still hasn't happened in a polar bear. That's sort of like the 3 things I've always wanted to see.
What was the first one?
Dolphins. Yeah. And trippy little buggers. When I was a kid, actually, we went on this boat trip. It was on Vancouver Island again. I can't remember all the details, but you could pay to go on this boat. And what the boat did was, like, they were going to all these ports on all these little tiny islands and delivering produce and whatever, all kinds of shit, so that to sustain all these small islands. So they're just dropping off food everywhere and whatever, I don't know, Amazon shit. That was way before Amazon. Yeah. Like mail and everything like that, right? But you could pay to go on this boat for the day. It was like a full day of being on this thing, and you just get to cruise on the boat. That's a good idea, actually, really. If you're just out there delivering shit, you might as well have passengers too.
For sure.
And we saw gray whales, which were huge. We had a big pod of gray whales.
Yeah.
That was fucking cool. I'll never forget that. It's pretty impressive when you see something that big.
Yeah. I know Bree and I saw some whales in Cabo when we were down there for our honeymoon. And we were parasailing, actually. And the whales were right below us.
Yeah.
And there's some jackass, like a few of them on Sea-Doos.
Oh.
And they were actually like trying to get closer to the whales, and some of them were going like right over top of where they were and stuff.
God,
and I'm just like,
stupid.
They need to get some policia out here or something.
You know what happened? I totally forgot about this. Was I think it was day 4 when we were getting to this beach, and it was a beautiful beach. It was sandy beach, and we got there, and there's like this waterfall and shit as you first get in. This beach is really long. We're trying to get to like the north end of it, which is all the way at the other end. But there was this guy sitting with his legs like not crossed but like sort of open, and I thought he just had a young puppy sitting in his lap, like curled up in his lap. And Oscar ran over there, and I just thought whatever, the pup was tired or whatever, it was sleeping. Oscar was like checking it out, and then he just came back and continued on with me. But I kept looking over there and like, that's kind of weird. Like that dog looks like it's dead or something. Like it's just not moving, and you could sort of see like almost like down blowing in the wind, like feathers, like thin. I don't know how to explain it. So it didn't really occur to me. And then as we were walking, we come across this guy, and he's kind of hustling down the beach, and he's like, "Are you guys the ones that called about the seal pup?" And I'm like, "No." And then it hit me. I'm like, "Oh my God, that was a fucking seal pup that guy had between his legs." And he's like, "Yeah, we got a call about a seal pup that was on the shore, and this guy grabbed it and he pulled it off the shoreline and was sitting on the beach with it in his legs. And it was fucking hot too. So I wish I had known what it was and told the guy, like, you can't be fucking doing that. Like, you can't even touch the thing. Like, put it back in the ocean. And if it's not well or whatever, if it's got heat exhaustion, then it's going to die. Something's going to eat it. That's unfortunate. Or on the other hand, its mother's waiting out there and the thing needs to be nursed or whatever. Like, what the fuck are you doing with a seal pup between your legs? And he was just like, I don't know, like sort of a hippie-ish looking dude. Not that that has anything to do with it, but you could tell he was sort of like being protective of this thing. And he just can't do that. And I could tell the guy who was going down there was sort of pissed off that this was going on. And
wow, I
don't even know how this guy, because there was like a 2-kilometer trail that you could get access from the road at that point to get into this beach. So there was random people there, but yeah, it was just, I wish that I had the opportunity to sort of like get involved there and put this thing back in the water, because obviously they can't just be laid out on the beach like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's
people
hard
try to help, but it doesn't.
It's counterproductive, and especially when it's something cute like a seal pup like that. I don't know. What are you doing, man? Like,
put it back and let nature run its course. It's like you said, it's
unfortunate, but
it's more likely that it might survive if it's in its natural, in the water or whatever. Yeah. As soon as you pull it out and guard it like that, the mother's not going to come back. Even if there's a slim chance, it's definitely not happening now.
No. So yeah, once I found out what it was sort of, I don't know, it sort of leaves a weird feeling, you know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, I wish I could have intervened and done the right thing in that situation, but I thought it was a dog. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's the thing with hunting too. The more we get into it and the more you learn, and you learn about nature, and that sometimes it's not nice and it's ruthless,
all that kind of stuff, right? And I just think it's healthy for humans to realize that just in their day to day. Yeah. It just helps with realizing.
And that's hard to say as hunters too, because we're telling this guy not to get involved with the natural cycle, but we're going in there and harvesting animals, but
which is kind of a natural cycle.
It's all calculated too, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, that's a tricky one, because maybe somebody can bring that seal into a rehab and bring it back and nurse it back to life or whatever, but
not that guy.
Yeah, sitting on the beach with your legs around the fucking thing while it's baking in the sun, like,
yeah, it's not good.
Oh my God, man. But if it was sick and it was going to die, then something's going to eat it, something else is going to benefit from it. It's all part of what's supposed to happen out there. Yep. Anyways, that was interesting.
Well, yeah, it sounds like a good trip. I'm going to have to head out there one of these days.
I think Bree would maybe do it. I don't know. Her and Ashley will have to talk. Like I said, we were pretty comfortable the whole time. If you hit rain, it's going to be a whole...
Do you think the West Coast Trail, is it longer?
Yeah, and it's a bit more challenging.
Oh, okay. So, but with this one, like, you didn't feel like you had to necessarily train for months to do it, or... No,
and I don't think you would on the West Coast Trail either. Yeah. It's just sort of that same thing as, like, you do have certain time pressures. You have to get to these camps at a certain amount of time, and you've got a good map. They're all numbered, so you know where you're trying to get and by what time according to the tide charts and all that kind of stuff. But you can do it to your own ability, because I know people have done that one with kids and stuff like that. And we were already sort of talking about doing that one next year, but the reason why we ended up on the Juan De Fuca Trail, and it was suggested by my buddy Clayton Smith, I think you've met him way back in the day, was because it was too late to book the West Coast Trail. So to do the West Coast Trail, it's like $150 per person, and that covers your backcountry pass, and like the main thing that it's almost insurance that if something happens to you, if you break your leg or you get hypothermia, you get a helicopter ride out, and it's not going to cost you money.
Right. They have a dedicated.
So they're keeping track of everybody who's in there. If something happens, they're going to come in and rescue you. It might take quite a bit of time to get in there, and obviously word has to get to the main office that somebody's injured or in trouble. But you've sort of got that, it's peace of mind, I guess, while you're out there, that if something happens, they'll save your ass, hopefully. But there's also the thing that the West Coast Trail has that the Juan De Fuca Trail doesn't, is like a series of ladders and stuff that you have to go up. Like there's lots of sketchy sort of, not ladders, but like stairs that were built out of logs, or like steps that had missing planks and shit like that. So it's super sketchy. But the West Coast Trail is a bit more intense, and there's like, you have to go across cables to get across some of these creeks, and I think you actually have
cable
to go,
cars and
all this kind of neat stuff.
Some of the ladders are kilometers long, aren't they?
I don't know how, but I think there's a series of them that's quite, and if it's wet, they can be a real bitch. And I was talking to somebody who had done both trails. They were on the Juan De Fuca Trail with us, and they had done the West Coast Trail. And they said the shitty thing is like, you can get stuck behind people. So you get to the ladders, and this group of people who are having trouble, and you're like, fuck, now you
can't pass them.
You can't pass them. You have to wait for everybody. It's almost like you hear stories about how busy Mount Everest and stuff is like. It's like you're sort of, at the mercy of everybody who's in front of you. And if somebody's taking a long time, then it's going to fuck you over.
That's where I feel like the hunters would have an advantage, because we're used to getting up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You just suck it up, get out at whenever.
Yeah.
And
then the nice thing is you've got the luxury of like getting to camp a decent time, then you can actually relax for a bit and hang out on the beach and watch for whales and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Have a good meal and get a good rest. So and the other thing was that dogs aren't allowed on the West Coast Trail. They're not recommended on the Juan De Fuca Trail, but Oscar spends so much time outdoors. I knew he'd be fine anyways. He loved it.
Cool.
But
I wasn't sure if you were taking him or not, but I saw the pictures.
Yeah.
So he had his backpack.
He had his own backpack, so he was packing all of his own food and his bowl and his jacket and all that shit. But if Ashley wasn't interested in doing the West Coast Trail, it would almost be a fun trip to do, like a guy's trip too. You know what I mean? Just get like 4 of your buddies out there. Yeah. And you suffer a bit for sure. There's times when you're like, why? Like, what's the point of this? But when you get to like the last kilometer mark, you're like, yeah, I would do this all over again for sure. It's almost like a form of meditation too, because you get so much time to think about everything, you know what I mean? And your cell phone doesn't work when you're out there, and you're not reading the news. There's not all this like, I don't know, the modern world is just like constant information coming from every different angle. And I own a business, and it's nice to just be like, fuck all this stuff. It's just like focusing on, put one foot in front of the other and enjoying it. So that's great.
Yeah, I would be into that for sure. And
it's an excellent way to test out all your gear, and everything was fucking great. Before we end this thing, we should mention, as you heard in the intro, Dark Energy is now something that we're endorsing it. We'll never plug a piece of equipment that we don't test, and we're not just going to like say, go buy this thing because there's an opportunity for us to get some money back from it. If it's something that we feel is not going to work well in the field, we won't promote it. So the Dark Energy Poseidon, which is it's a charging device for electronics. We've used it quite a bit now. Kelly and I had it for hunting trips, and Ashley and I brought it on this trip, and the thing was fucking awesome. Yeah, it's indestructible. So you're going to hear that ad at the beginning of each episode for a while. And as we said there, like if you go and use our promo code, which is Rookie10, you get 10% off. And anytime somebody uses that promo code, you save some cash and you also support the show. So anyone who's interested in that, go check it out. It's essential, especially if you're out there trying to get video footage or you need to charge a radio, camera, phones, GPS, does it all. So check it out.
Definitely.
Anything else, Cal?
No, just what are we, mid-June?
Yeah.
So it's getting close to Snowshoe Hare in BC.
Rabbit time.
So yeah, just good luck to everybody out there. And at this point, it's probably scouting, but have fun out there. And
yeah,
we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.